Today we are learning how to tune your drums. And probably the best place to start is one of the more complicated drums. Everything you would need to know for toms and bass drum and tuning all of those things, other than tuning them together, is part of tuning the snare. So hopefully, you can take some of the things that I do here and just apply it to those drums. I've also already taken my snare drum pieces apart. I have the heads off, the rims off, all that stuff. So what I'm doing here is I've taken the resonant head and put it on the bottom of the drum. The drum's upside down right now. By the way, that is a Tour Pro Tay snare. It's 14 inches across and 6 inches deep. So it's a thicker snare for sure. You kind of get a fatter sound. Now I'm taking the rim, placing it down on top there. It really doesn't matter. There isn't like a set way to put that on there. These lugs, they should all have one of the like a plastic washer or a metal washer. I think the plastic washers are probably better in my opinion. Just because the less metal stuff you have, the less things have the chance of rusting or getting old or all that stuff. Plastic is pretty good for things like this as long as you take care of them. And you kind of want to take each of them and hand tighten them down. Hand tight, just as tight as you can get them with your hands first to pull the rim down as tight as possible onto the drum. It's also important to mention that when tightening down the lugs for your heads, you want to start with one lug, then move to the opposite side, then opposite side, opposite side, opposite side. This keeps it from one side getting too tight, maybe busting a head. And I feel cuts out a lot of the guesswork in having to tune your drum in the beginning. Alright, so this is a drum key. You'll use it to tighten the lugs on the drum down on the rim. This is a more complicated version of the drum key, basically. It has a Phillips head screwdriver on it than the normal key that any other drum has. So what I'm doing here is I'm tightening the lugs down back and forth on the drum and across the drum pattern, kind of in a star. First spin, I'm doing one half turn. Make sure that all of them kind of have the same tone. You kind of have to fiddle around with it sometimes and tighten one a little bit more and loosen one up, because the drum head is not perfectly the same everywhere, and the tone is a little difficult to get, almost impossible to get all of the same sounds all the time with all of them being the same exact tightness. So this is another thing that you'll get more used to as time goes on tuning your drums. After I've tightened them all down one half turn, what I like to do is use a drumstick to test the tone of each of the lugs. Some people like to put something in the middle so that it keeps the drum from resonating. Eventually you'll see me put on one of the moon gels and then test it again just to make sure that everything's the right tone. Alright, so when this drum is referred to as a snare drum, this is the accessory to the drum which makes it a snare drum. It is the snare itself. The snare is held on by two sets of clips. One is totally immovable on one side of the drum, usually the side of the drum that you want to face away from you. The other one has a clip that moves up and down, tightens the snare onto the resonant head, and it loosens the snare onto the resonant head. This gives you the option of having a tighter, shorter snare sound or a longer, deeper snare sound. Once you have both ends of the snare attached, it's okay to fiddle with it. Make sure that the snares are in the very center of the resonant head, or else you'll get kind of a weird tone. Also, when you're playing, you'll notice that the snares don't seem to be reacting as they should. Alright, so when tightening down the lugs on the top head, I always go with the half turn. Again, I feel like the half turn is probably um, the best way to start tuning any of these drums. You'll do it with your toms, anything like that. And also, by the way, since we're on the on the point, your toms are going to basically be tuned the same way you're doing this drum, the snare drum, just without the snares. Alright. Also, just like the resonant head, we're going to go ahead and test the tuning of each lug together. At this point, you can kind of, work up to a tuning you like on one lug, and then use it to tune the other lugs on the drum. Alright, and here we are. You have replaced all the drum heads on your snare, put the snares back on, and retuned your drum. Like I've stated before, you're going to do the same exact thing with your toms, except without the snares. That's the whole deal. Later on, I might do a video of the toms specifically, and getting them in tune together with each other, and even the bass drum, which is even simpler than the snare. So thanks so much for coming by and watching the video. Please leave a like, tell me what you thought, and have a nice day.